This is Warsaw, capital of Poland, the city where I was born and lived for over 30 years. Some 20 years ago, I was a journalist in this city, a Polish television reporter whose face was easily recognized in a Warsaw tram. In this country, as a journalist, I was supposed to become an engineer of the human soul, developing a new socialist man. I didn't take the challenge of my profession, I took off. The memories are coming back. One is the Joseph Stalin Palace of Culture, this Soviet imposition on urban design we called a white elephant in lace panties. We were supposed to live our lives the Big Brother way, but never really adapted to it. The country is falling apart, I am told, and I see proof of the decay. At first, the government blamed Solidarity strikes for it, but now, beating its breast, it admits that the socialist economy over a period of 43 years has been an economy of waste. Yes, we screwed up, says the party, encouraging the people to take their small economies into their own hands. The SOS signal is being broadcast to the West. Save our souls. A village market in the midst of a capital city, with both sellers and buyers holding college degrees, strikes me as an irony. So is capitalism okay in Poland after all? During the Cold War, when McCarthy was looking for communists in America, Polish police were looking for capitalists in Warsaw. For lack of a better candidate, I, a 10-year-old boy, was arrested here in front of the US Embassy under suspicion of watching the American movie Inside. "40 years later, I found the lack of freedom still intact. A Solidarity leader is on trial for speaking his mind. He told the Western press that during the last May Day demonstration, the police were beating Solidarity followers with wooden sticks.
Shall I start from the very beginning? But
There is no such thing in our police inventory, claims the government. We only use rubber.
It's a foregone conclusion what I will get. I will get a steep fine because it is not decided by the court. It is decided outside, probably.
So, question one, what type of equipment they were using? You said wood and...
Well, I said that they were using also wooden sticks, but they claimed that they didn't use anything. I suppose that probably every second person here could be a witness.
He brought still photographs of a plainclothes policeman with broken banner sticks in his hand as evidence, but the court refuses to view it. It's a parody of justice, says a woman. Nothing but lies makes you sick to your stomach.
This is the trial for not getting in contact with any Western press. This is the issue.
And you were punished for getting in contact.
Well, yes.
Yeah. But on the surface, it's about lies. If you were telling the truth, that you wouldn't be trialed, theoretically.
I could be. Because according to Polish law, if you spread even true information to instigate public unrest, you can be on trial.
Poland needs a Gorbachev, I conclude, and decide to look for one. Here is a candidate. His name is Mieczysław Rakowski, age 62, PhD in history, former government negotiator with Solidarity, who later plotted martial law. Each day before he goes to work at the party's central committee, where he is in charge of propaganda, his bodyguard drops him here at the 5-star Intercontinental Hotel, where he swims 10 laps to stay in shape. In my time, he was the editor of Polityka, a party weekly known for its liberalism. His role in the suspension of Solidarity, however, cost him not only his liberal reputation, but also a separation from his family. Both his wife and 2 sons emigrated to the West. Since the rise of Gorbachev in Russia, Rakowski champions a new liberalism within the party, and many see him as a successor to General Jaruzelski. I am here to humanize the communists, I tell him to break the ice, and he concurs. I am at a double advantage with him. For one, we have common friends, and two, I come from the United States, where he would like to be visible. Today we are supposed to have a weekly Politburo meeting, but our new policy says once a month we talk with the workers, Rakowski tells me. He offers me a ride with him to a petrochemical factory near Warsaw. This is the view of the $40 billion debt Poland owes the West as a result of building plants like this one in the late 60s. With martial law antagonizing Western banks, today they all suffer for lack of funds for spare parts, maintenance and renovation. The Polish economy today is like a snake eating its own tail. It consumes more than it produces. And like most state industry, this factory has not experienced labor unrest. It employs a small crew of highly skilled workers paid relatively well to take care of expensive machinery. Rakowski has chosen a safe place to visit. The routine for visiting party politicians has been the same with or without Gorbachev. Selected workers with the broadest smiles answer the same questions. How is work? Fine. What are the problems? None. Since solidarity, however, some workers are willing to speak up. Does your wife work? How much does she make? She's a teacher, 25,000 zloty per month. That makes 75,000 with your salary, figures Rakowski. How many children? 3. How much extra per child? 2,000. That makes 81,000, Rakowski calculates, and that doesn't include bonuses, right? Right. Do you have an apartment? Sure. 325 square feet for the 5 of us. Can you make ends meet? It's enough just for food and kids' clothes. Hard to save a penny. No savings at all? No. But a little reserve of 20,000, 30,000 must be somewhere, insists Rakowski. No way. Nothing. On our way back, I asked Rakowski the burning question. What would have happened to Solidarity had Gorbachev been in power in 1981? It would all depend on whether Solidarity would have softened its hard anti-Soviet edge, he answers. But weren't you motivated by fear? Wouldn't your position be different with the support of a liberal Soviet leader, I continue? Of course it would, he answers. Fear is a political category. So the chances are, I conclude, that you would have found a political solution and avoided martial law. I think so, he agrees. But on the other hand, by a historical paradox, without martial law in Poland, there would be no Gorbachev in Russia. The problem both Gorbachev and we have to solve now, Rakowski tells me, is how to switch from our old collectivism to the individualism that is the basis of your capitalist system. Unfortunately, he argues, most Poles accept the collective system because in that system they don't have to take responsibility for their own lives. For a partyman, this sounds heretical, and Rakowski knows it. He and his party comrades realize that instead of being the leaders of such a radical change, they may become the target. So it's business as usual in the rubber-stamp Polish parliament, presided over by Rakowski on the party's behalf. I am riding with a man who is not afraid of radical change. Lech Zembrzuski was a Polish diplomat in London who quit his job, got himself a BMW, and returned to Warsaw to become a perestroika capitalist. In someone's backyard, he rented a shack. From a state factory, he bought 2 old lathes, recruited 2 of their best machinists, and doubled their state wages. For the British client he met in London, Lech makes gears used in aircraft engines. Every 6 weeks, Lech sends him 8 gears worth $1,200. Anticipating more income, the Zembrzuskis want to build a house. Lech and his wife Anna are now on their way to see another entrepreneur who wants to build their house. The builder's name is Julian Lechowicz. As a young man, he built houses in Poland until the government's hostility toward private businesses chased him out of the country. He emigrated to Springfield, Massachusetts, where for 20 years he built wood frame houses. When he heard about perestroika, he left his business to his son, packed a bunch of catalogs, and returned to Poland. Now he wants to introduce this unknown 2x4 technology to a Poland hungry for housing. Julian is not a man of small plans. He tells his clients that the design of some 800 houses is complete and the transaction to buy the land almost finalized. Almost, worries Anna. We thought we owned the land already. Come on, says the veteran Polish capitalist. You know the bureaucracy here. Nothing goes fast. How can you build a house in 6 months when it takes longer for wood to dry and you haven't purchased it yet? She probes. We Americans love challenges and know how to solve problems, answers Julian and introduces the subject of kitchen cabinets. I can offer you any color from the light to the dark, gushes Julian. The only problem is that I could not match it with the Soviet-made refrigerators. They only come in one color. This is the land he wants to build on. It belongs to many private farmers who got it out of the agrarian reform. But since the land was given by the state, to sell it to a private person was forbidden until recently. In Julian's scheme, 90% of financing must come from the state, which is just beginning to learn the concept of mortgaging. So which lot is ours? Asks Anna. Well, it will be located exactly between the highest birch on the left and the second cow on the right. Poland's Teflon man is Marek Złotopolski. He's not a president. He's a 33-year-old chemist working for the state who wants to go private and mass produce Teflon piping badly needed in Poland. Until now, every scrap of Teflon had to be imported, while the original Polish technology was collecting dust, explains Marek. He has just bought an abandoned factory and calls it his promised land. He returns from a state agency in charge of private entrepreneurs and cannot believe their stupidity. He tells his architect and co-owner of the land that the contract they both signed to form a partnership has not been accepted. It's absurd, says the architect. The road to capitalism is a bumpy one. The word itself is still taboo. You call it free initiative, so the socialists can take credit for it. Marek used private funds for the land and building, and now he expects the state to loan him the money to begin production. But the state still drags its feet. In a year, says the Teflon man, everything here will be nicely finished. A huge business logo painted on the wall. Cars park in the front of the building. You'll see. I visit a man who has already made it. A former European car racing champion, he made his first money as an Audi factory team driver. 25 years ago, he invested it in a then very risky private business. Today, on the wave of perestroika, in the middle of farmland, Sobiesław Zasada expands his enterprise. He builds a refrigeration plant to store Polish strawberries before rushing them to West Germany. We are the first who brought technology to this area, he tells me. It's hard to find a skillful worker here, no matter what you offer to pay. This is his son-in-law, a dentist who came to Zasada and said, "Listen, there is only one state factory producing false teeth in Poland, supplying only 15% of the demand. The rest is imported. Let's buy used machines and manufacture acrylic teeth in Poland." They first went to a German factory going out of business and bought thousands of teeth, which they now sort out, hoping to sell 5,000 denture kits this year. So one part of the building is being remodeled and becoming the tooth department, where the production line will be installed as soon as the strawberries bring hard currency. Even more than dentures, Poland used to be deprived of well-functioning zippers. But not since Zasada started making them here from scratch, in a typical Western environment. In today's economic climate, with price control lifted for most industrial products, Zasada's zippers support his new investment in fruits and vegetables and allow him to run the cleanest and best organized factory of its kind. He not only pays his workers much more than the state does, but provides them with unparalleled social services, like the free dental clinic his son-in-law just opened. But the frosting on the cake in his business is the mini luxury car he manufactures for the discriminating buyer. The 3-horsepower lawnmower engines come from Briggs & Stratton in Milwaukee. The plastic body, paint and tires are from Germany. Only labor is Polish. 2,000 of them are sold each year. If it is for a little son of a Saudi sheikh, it costs $2,000. If it's a European brat, it's only 1,000. Zasada just returned from California, which may open a new market. Porsche is, of course, top of the line. Half an hour from Zasada's factory is the Lenin Steelworks, a monument to a socialist economy built by the Soviets in the 50s, with a technology already then outdated by a decade. By all business standards, this plant, employing 16,000 people, should have been closed down a long time ago. It produces the lowest grade steel once needed by the Soviets, but too heavy and bulky for modern applications. Maciej Szumowski, my former colleague from Polish television, guides me over the graveyard next to the steelworks.
Białe, mimo że są bardzo widoczne, są chyba najmniej szkodliwe, bo najwięcej...
How can you get rid of this patriotic steelworks you've been writing poems and songs about for 40 years, jokes Maciej. We are talking about the catastrophic pollution created by this industrial monster, often 40 times over the acceptable level. Death is omnipresent in this area.
Śmierć tu dotyka krakowian, ludzi z Nowej Huty dotyka...
It comes to us directly from the air, says Maciej, as he explains the economy of family funerals. A family grave for 5, one stacked on another, is a status symbol around here. It costs over 1 million zlotys, more than 2 years' average salary, but a bargain compared to an apartment.
Wszyscy robotnicy, którzy wtedy byli parę tysięcy, z tym, że to są fragmenty.
Maciej shows me his videotape shot at the recent strike at Nowa Huta Steelworks.
Jednego pochodu, bo po drodze podchodzą pod następne wydziały.
Daj mi słuchaj, co nie mówią.
Chcemy chleba i wolności.
They raise the banners and chant, "We want bread and freedom."
W momencie, gdy zawiązywano strajk, gdy pytano ich o to, co się stanie, gdy zostaną...
Such a protest always makes the party hysterical, says Maciej. In this case, party officials first assure the workers that they would negotiate with them, then suddenly change their mind and send an anti-terrorist squad in the middle of the night. I share with Maciej what Rakowski told me about the workers being spoiled by collectivism. It's the utmost arrogance, especially when it comes from the mouth of a political party which calls itself the Workers' Party, he reacts. It's the same old party line. The bureaucrats are not content with the workers, so let's change the workers. This whole society lacks discipline, so let's change society. Why doesn't the party just get rid of itself, since it doesn't suit either the workers or the society? Maciej gives me his radical political platform. He tells me to forget that fairy tale about capitalism having a green light in Poland. So far, a few chicken coops have been given away for private use, he jokes, in many cases into the hands of former secret police captains and other good buddies of the party bureaucrats. Why don't they give the steelworks away? But who would want it, I ask rhetorically, and offer it to him? No, he's not interested. He thinks something else must be built instead, and he is positive that a broad infusion of foreign capital is the only way out for Poland. You will find clients as soon as the state closes down a bunch of its bankrupt factories, he insists, except that this will bankrupt the party in the process, and they are not ready for it. Emigration is a way out for many. After all, 1/3 of this nation already lives abroad. Each morning, some 1,500 people form a queue in front of the German embassy. Only 100 will leave with a visa. The American visa is even more difficult to get, I learned from the crowd in the front of the US embassy. They are all prospective tourists who want to work the day after arrival in the US and who must convince the consul that such a thought doesn't even cross their mind. So they prove their independent wealth in Poland with their nice clothes, a driver's license, or sometimes a picture of a house owned by the neighbor. The story goes that once someone showed up in a tuxedo. With such a noble look, I comfort an older man, no one will suspect that you plan to mop the floor in an American supermarket. Grażyna Michalska wants to emigrate. She's 20 and studies at the Agricultural University in Warsaw. She's part of a generation which calls itself homeless. Living with their parents, they will never earn the millions of zlotys needed to buy their own place. And for state-subsidized housing, they would have to wait up to 55 years. Grażyna and her twin sister Ania live in one tiny room. Another is occupied by the parents. The kitchen is too small for eating. But this is considered high-class living in Warsaw. What would happen if all of us leave, asked Grażyna's sister? It would be a tragedy for Poland. I still have hope, she adds. You cannot assume that everything will go down the drain. It will, answers Grażyna. She brings me to one of Warsaw's communal garden plots, which her parents got from the state for good service. Today, these plots have been one of the hottest commodities on the free market. A 1,000-square-foot plot with a little hut goes for the equivalent of a year's income. Here, people not only grow fruits and vegetables for themselves, but often become mini farmers, selling the goods to neighbors. Grażyna's parents, now retired, spend at least 6 months of the year here, calling it their happy internal exile.
I got no hope. Do you understand?
Are you sad?
Yes, I am. I've got no hope, no views. It's not only economic. It's not only this.
What else it is?
It's, well, I think you have to feel good with the people surrounding you.
But that's right. But what makes you frustrated? Government, people around you?
Also.
Both?
Both.
How the government frustrates you?
Well, when you live in this country, you don't feel really free. Because you can't say everything you want to say. You can't do everything what you want to do.
How do people around you frustrate you, your friends,
Well, maybe not friends, but people in the street, because they are very nervous. They live in very difficult conditions, and that's why they're very nervous and they are very angry all the time. And it's really difficult to talk to them and to live with them.
Warsaw Airport, the place where the dream of flying out materializes. I am meeting someone who experienced it all. Her name is Olympia. Olympia has not seen her Polish family for 8 years. Eight years ago, long before Gorbachev, she declared her own perestroika and went to America alone. Over these years, she missed the marriages of her 2 sons, the birth of her 2 grandchildren, and of course, she has been missing her husband, Antoni. I know her from Chicago. Across the street from us, a lawyer couple with 2 small children and 2 big dogs used to live in a 6-bedroom mansion. Olympia was their maid. He still cleans, shops, cooks, and drives the kids to school, to swimming, to skating, and to dancing and violin lessons. On Sundays, we would invite her to our home and speak Polish together. Look at this Polonez, Olympia, the red one. That's your car. The Polonez is Polish-made, top of the line. Even the government uses them. This is one of the 2 cars Olympia bought for her sons from her American savings. She also bought each an apartment. The 2-car motorcade now carries her to her hometown of Białystok. 8 years ago, one of her neighbors arranged for an invitation from an American cousin, a famous ploy generations of Poles have been using as a way to get to the States.
A pani Żakowska to nie jest mąż przecież.
A tourist for the first 6 months, she hid in the woodwork for the remaining 7.5 years, until a recent amnesty for illegal aliens made her an American resident and allowed her to travel to Poland. We thank you for everything you did for us, for your helping our life here. Her son Tomasz offers the toast. And we hope your vacation will be filled with many nice moments with us. Too bad we are missing the rest of our family at the table, answers Olympia. The rest of them still live in the country. This northeastern part of Poland is known for both its beauty and its poor soil. To the left of the road lives her only surviving brother with his wife, 2 daughters, 2 sons-in-law, and 2 granddaughters. My brother had no imagination when he built this house, Olympia told me in Chicago. Too much kitchen and not enough sleeping room for 8 people. I told him he was building a stupid house, but instead of listening to me, he listened to his wife. But what can you do with a stubborn farmer? Her niece Eva. Her sister-in-law.
Jak się masz? Jak widać. No tam, o, bo jesteś...
And her older brother, 75 years old, who she thinks is on his last legs.
O, pomarniał.
A co lekarz mówi? Co to jest?
What does the doctor say? Asks Tomasz. Nothing. There is no medicine for it.
Lekarstwa nie ma.
This is a 1-pig farm. The 12 piglets bring the only profit they make, since nothing grows on their 14 acres. Today, Eva's husband, Janek, who supports the family cutting tombstones at the local cemetery, took the day off and went fishing. Tomasz announces the arrival of the American aunt. An experienced Polish maid in Chicago, Olympia makes $300 for a 6-day week. The $100 she gives to her niece represents, at the free market exchange, 185,000 zlotys. What takes Olympia 2 days to earn in Chicago equals the annual earning of her brother's farm near Białystok. Why don't you kiss your aunt? Says Eva to her husband. Come on, says Olympia. I don't need 10 kisses for the stupid $100. On this farm across the road, Olympia was born. It is now occupied by her younger brother's widow, her nephew Kazik, and his wife and child.
To dla mojej.
A dish of cucumbers, buttermilk, and potatoes is on the table. It is called miseria, from the word misery, because no matter how hard times are, a farmer can always afford to put miseria on the table.
Dobry chłopak.
Propaganda sukcesu,
Te,
tak?
słuchaj, jak ty byś...
Sukces, ale to widać, wie pan.
Gdybyś ty nie pił.
With $50 in her hand, Olympia does not hesitate to scold her nephew. If you would only stop drinking, lectures the American aunt.
Ona go trzyma przy życiu.
Jeszcze przyjdzie czas, bo jeszcze nie
Na
zdążyłem
szczęście.
się, widzi pan.
Bardzo dobrze.
I człowiek wtedy się rozweseli, jak
But Kazik has a counter-argument.
wina, czy szklankę wina, czy całe wino.
Our life is so hard, the farmer needs to release his worries, he says.
Już jestem obojętny na tę szkodę.
One glass, 2 glasses of vodka, and you are full of joy.
Ale widzi pan, to co innego.
Ja jestem starej daty, ale ty to już...
I may be old-fashioned, Olympia tells her niece, but you must be from the Middle Ages, keeping the child so warm. Look at her. She talks like an American, answers Eva.
Ty nie mów, że ty starej daty, już ty jesteś po kolei nastolatków.
My village no have bread this time in springtime. People very poor. So I take bread.
Olympia demonstrates her English to her family and asks me to be her translator.
I go for looking for
She talks about hard times she had in the village and her dream of moving to the city.
I going out for village. All the time I thinking, little girl grow up, I no like village. Zawsze
The smell of oranges was what attracted Olympia to city life. Why aren't we in the city, where people can eat oranges? She always wondered.
Żyd pracował, miał fabrykę.
Olympia's brother gave us a lesson in economics. A Jew once owned a factory here. 300 people worked for him. The Jew himself, his daughter, and his son-in-law, just 3 people, ran the business. The communists came and took over the factory. Now 300 people still works there, but you know how many of them are bureaucrats? 150. I didn't find a Gorbachev in Poland, but I found a remarkable woman whose hard work does make a difference.
here is my grandpa.
According to the statistics, the Olympians of Poland bring more dollars into the country than the state does. Before leaving Poland, Olympia visits her friend Danuta, who also cleaned houses in the US, returned with a dozen wedding dresses, and now rents them out. The young girl is Danuta's daughter, who will get married in a few days.
Wierzymy w każdy ranek i każdy wieczór.
We believe in every love and every truth, knowing that it is only an illusion, goes the song Ursula practices for her wedding.
Wierzymy w byle co.
Tired of screaming and lamenting about our little country, we believe in anything so we won't feel the pain. In 2 weeks, Olympia will be back in Chicago. Her goal from now on will be to stay long enough to qualify for Social Security benefits, then return for good and cash them in zlotys. All her life she has been a homemaker, and the name of her home is Poland.